Hey everyone, today we're diving into a major development in Donald Trump's hush money case. A Manhattan judge just rejected Trump's latest attempt to get his conviction thrown out. Now, his legal team was leaning on a recent Supreme Court decision about presidential immunity, but the judge wasn't convinced. This is a massive ruling with implications, not just for Trump, but for how we think about accountability for presidents in general, past, present, and future. Let's break it all down step by step, because this case is anything but simple. So let's start with the basics. Back in May, Trump was convicted on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. This was tied to a $130,000 hush money payment made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 presidential election. Prosecutors argued that the payment was part of a larger scheme to keep Daniels quiet about an alleged affair with Trump, which they claimed could have influenced the outcome of the election if it had come to light. Trump has consistently denied the affair and insists that the payment wasn't about the election, but the jury wasn't buying it. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Let's fast forward to this summer, and the legal landscape shifts a bit. The U.S. Supreme Court makes a big ruling on presidential immunity, saying that ex-presidents cannot be prosecuted for things they did as part of their official duties while in office. Trump's legal team jumped on that, arguing that some of the evidence presented during the trial, like his financial disclosure forms, testimony from former White House staff, and even some of his social media posts, was tied to his time as president and therefore protected. They claim this evidence should never have been admitted and that it unfairly influenced the jury's decision. But here's the twist. The judge wasn't buying that argument. Judge Juan Merchan ruled that even if some of that evidence could be tied to Trump's official duties, it didn't really matter. Why? Because the bulk of the case was built on other evidence that had nothing to do with Trump's presidency. Merchan said the case was so strong that even without the disputed material, the outcome would have been the same. He described any potential errors, almost even the overwhelming proof of guilt. Naturally, Trump's team isn't happy. His communications director, Steven Cheung, blasted the decision, calling it a violation of the Supreme Court's ruling on immunity. He also said the case was unconstitutional and should have been dismissed a long time ago. Meanwhile, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who led the prosecution, has stayed quiet since the ruling. Now, let's step back for a second and talk about what makes this situation so unique. Trump isn't just a former president. He's also the president-elect set to return to office next month. This makes him the first person ever elected to the presidency with a felony conviction on his record. It's completely unprecedented, and it raises some huge questions about what happens next. For starters, the judge had already delayed Trump's sentencing, which was originally set for late November. That delay came after Trump won the election, giving both sides time to figure out their next moves. Prosecutors have floated a few ideas to deal with the unusual circumstances. One option is to freeze the case entirely until Trump leaves office in 2029. Another is to agree up front that, no matter what, Trump won't face jail time. And then there's the most controversial idea, closing the case without sentencing Trump, but leaving the conviction on record. That would be similar to what some states do when a convicted person dies before sentencing. Of course, Trump's lawyers aren't having any of it. They've dismissed these proposals as absurd, unconstitutional. They're arguing that keeping this conviction alive undermines the peaceful transfer of power and disrupts the presidency itself. Basically, they're framing it as a crisis for democracy, saying it would make it impossible for Trump to effectively govern. But prosecutors have made it clear that they believe this conviction should stand no matter what. They're not pushing for immediate sentencing or even jail time, but they don't want the case to just disappear. For them, it's about accountability and making sure no one is above the law, not even a president. And let's not forget, this isn't Trump's only legal battle. Last year alone, he was indicted 4 times. 2 federal cases were dropped after his election win. One related to his handling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and another about his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. There's also a state-level case in Georgia about election interference, but that's largely on hold right now. In every instance, Trump has denied wrongdoing, calling all these cases part of a political witch hunt. So where does this all leave us? Honestly, it's a legal mess with no clear roadmap. Trump's lawyers are still fighting to get the conviction thrown out entirely, while prosecutors are trying to navigate this unprecedented situation without setting a dangerous precedent. And in just a few weeks, Trump will take the oath of office again, adding even more complexity to an already tangled situation. This case isn't just about Trump or his legal troubles. It's about the bigger picture. What does justice look like for someone in his position? How do we balance holding leaders accountable while respecting the office they hold? And what does this mean for the future of presidential immunity? These are questions we've never had to grapple with before, and they're not going away anytime soon. So what do you all think? Should the conviction be dismissed because of presidential immunity, or should Trump face the consequences just like anyone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on this. As always, I'll keep you updated on what happens next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.